Mr. President, I rise today to oppose the confirmation of Congressman Mike Pompeo as Director of the Central Intelligence Agency. I respect Congressman Pompeo's background and service to our nation. However, I strongly believe that his positions on at least three key issues undermine his qualifications to lead the Central Intelligence Agency. First, he has supported broad surveillance programs that allowed the government to spy on the American people, programs that were far-reaching, invasive, and violated law-abiding citizens' constitutional rights to privacy. These programs were hastily passed as a part of the Patriot Act in the wake of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. I was one of only 66 members in the House of Representatives to vote against the Patriot Act. Since then, we've learned through reviews by the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board, as well as the unauthorized disclosure of programs by Edward Snowden, that these programs did go too far, no doubt about it, did go too far. The government collected massive amounts of personal cell phone information with no probable or reasonable cause to justify the collection, and that the Patriot Act was used to obtain hotel records, car rental records, apartment leasing records, credit card records, and other personal information. And while the government collected personal information from innocent Americans, there's no credible evidence that it made us more secure. A majority of the American people opposed the surveillance program. They understood it went too far and violated our basic American right to privacy. So Congress responded and passed the USA Freedom Act, bipartisan legislation to rein in the surveillance programs. Congressman Pompeo opposed the USA Freedom Act. Not only did he oppose the act, he introduced his own bill to resume and expand the spying programs. Mr. President, I believe in strong national security, and I've consistently supported our military and our national labs to ensure that we have the strongest and most effective defense in the world. However, in the United States of America, we protect national security and our constitutional rights. The United States is not a police state. The U.S. Constitution protects us against overreaching invasions of our privacy. Congress struck an appropriate balance in the USA Freedom Act between security and civil liberties. I hope the new administration will not try to return to mass surveillance programs that don't work, aren't supported by the American people, and invade our civil liberties. Second, Congressman Pompeo's views on torture are deeply concerning. He has stated that the so-called enhanced interrogation programs used by the CIA in the Bush administration were within the law and within the Constitution. That's his quote, were within the law and within the Constitution. They were not. They violated federal law prohibiting torture. They violated the UN Convention on Torture and the Geneva Conventions, treaties the U.S. signed and that became federal law. Programs of torture were a stain on our nation's history and contrary to our values as Americans. Beyond the legality of these programs, any CIA director must understand that the use of torture is ineffective. It yields bad intelligence, which makes it harder for our analysts to do their jobs. The Senate Intelligence Committee's 6,000-page classified report issued in December 2014 concludes, and I quote, "The CIA's use of its enhanced interrogation techniques was not an effective means of acquiring intelligence or gaining cooperation from detainees," end quote. This finding is from the publicly available executive summary from the report. On key national security issues like the use of torture, the new administration's top appointees must speak with one voice. Secretary of Defense Mattis has disavowed the use of torture. His many years of experience, training, and leading troops have taught him that torture does not work. Americans go to war and risk and sacrifice their lives to preserve our deeply held values. We cannot be engaged in conduct antithetical to those values at the same time. We must lead by example. Finally, if America uses torture, we have no moral authority to stop foreign countries or terrorists from torturing Americans. We can never give implicit license to others to brutalize our soldiers. President Obama banned the use of torture in 2009. Again, I hope we will not be forced into debate about whether to return to the use of inhumane interrogation techniques that don't work and that undermine what we stand for as a nation. Third, Congressman Pompeo has expressed that the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center should remain open, and he has said he believes detainees can be imprisoned indefinitely. The continued use of Guantanamo Bay Prison and indefinite detention are at odds with our nation's commitment to human rights and rule of law. There is no place in America's traditions under the Constitution and under international norms for indefinite detention without trial or adjudication. Guantanamo Bay hurts America's standing around the world. It's a recruiting tool for terrorists, and it is a huge waste of taxpayer dollars. Again, we must strike an appropriate balance between national security and America's fundamental principles. We cannot take actions to preserve American values that at the same time are opposite those very same values. Finally, Congressman Pompeo's views on Muslims are troubling. He has stated that Muslim leaders are, quote, potentially complicit in acts of terrorism if they don't condemn it. Muslim leaders around the world have condemned extremist violence. Muslims around the world strongly condemn such acts. Accusing Muslim leaders of complicity in acts of terrorism that they have nothing to do with, that they oppose, is not acceptable speech from a director of a national security agency. In conclusion, I want to underscore that I have nothing but respect for the men and women who work in the Central Intelligence Agency. They are true patriots who work hard every day at personal risk to keep our nation secure. These patriots deserve a leader who will keep our nation secure and secure our nation's basic values. In defense of America, in the name of national security, we must protect Americans' constitutional rights, the rule of law, and human rights. I believe that Congressman Pompeo's views do not hold with American values. His positions will not keep America safe. I think they could undermine our security, and for these reasons, I must oppose Congressman Pompeo's nomination as director of the Central Intelligence Agency.